We're here today to split Greg's hive. We have a couple of queens here. We're going to go through both hives. We think this one might be queenless. This one we're going to split. So we're going to go ahead and split this one first. This hive's very strong. You can see just by the bees coming and going. We've got lots of bees going into the hive over here and just a few on this side, and we even have some dust here, little wax shavings. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to smoke this hive. Let's see what we got. We got beetle blasters in here. We've got bees making honey. Since we have the beetle blasters there, we don't want to tip this on its side. We're going to leave it upright. See what we got going on here. Lots of bees. That's heavy, Greg. You going to harvest honey today? You can?
Yeah, I got stuff.
That's very heavy. Woo! Give these bees a little bit of smoke, not too much, because I don't want to make the queen run around too much. So when we make our split, we got to find her. Start on the end here. Got lots of propolis. First frame is always hard to get out. Got honey, lots of small hive beetles. When we popped the lid and took the boxes apart, we released all those small hive beetles from where they were trapped by the bees. We've got no queen there. We've got our box over here too. Probably should have said that before. We've got our box ready for our split over there. We want to make sure we put honey in the box. We want to make sure we put bees in the box. We want to make sure we have brood. And make sure we're putting the queen that we have in the right box. We don't want to leave two queens over here and no queen over there. We want to split it up. So here's a little honey. We'll get them started over here. Got open cells here in the middle and honey around. A little bit of open nectar. We'll move this over also. Got no queen. We wouldn't really expect her to be on here anyway. There's really nowhere for her to lay on the nectar side. Got no brood here on this side, none on this side. Ah, now I can see we're getting to the good stuff. Got a full frame of brood here, capped on this side. Beautiful brood pattern. Lots of young bees here on this frame. I'm looking for the queen to make sure I don't move her over. No queen. Looking for the queen again. Not really seeing anything in this frame. We get the lighting just right. We can see very, very young larvae in these cells. So we want to make sure the queen's not here before we move it over. I don't see her, so we're going to move this frame. This one's glued down, probably making drone comb between the boxes. I am getting lit up. Massively lit up. Okay, let's see what we got here. We have little larvae, we have capped brood here, moving across the frame. We have smaller and smaller larvae and eggs. So we've got to make sure the queen's not on this frame. Got the same thing on this side. Capped brood in the middle, a little bit of drone brood on the bottom here. And no queen. Double check, so we don't want to move her on accident. Oh, another great frame of brood. Let's look for our queen. Looks good to me. We might have to trade for a minute. Another great frame of brood here. Looking for our queen. We want to make sure we don't move her. This frame is empty on the back side. We know the queen's not on it. We're going to move it over. Then we'll give the bees a frame on this side, empty, and a frame on the other side, empty. Give them a little room to grow. Looking for our queen still. We already checked this frame, but we want to make sure she hasn't moved on to it. Got open nectar, capped honey. This will go in the second box that we add to this hive. Now if your hive is hot like this, you can come in and just move the boxes apart without looking for the queen, break the hive up and come back in a couple of days, see which side has started making queen cells. You know the side that's making queen cells doesn't have the queen. It splits the bees up a little bit so you're not going through so many bees at once. We have bee bread and honey here. This will go up top of this hive also. Now let's get our queen. These queens were taken out of hives yesterday. We have a beautiful dark queen in this cage. We have black tape here. I'm going to poke a little hole in the tape. Be a little easier for the bees to chew her out of the cage that way. And we'll see how they like her. We're going to put her between 2 brood frames so that young nurse bees can care for her until they release her from the cage. We're going to go ahead and close this box up. We'll come back in and move the 2 frames up into the second box, add another box so that these bees have room to grow. Right now they're pretty packed. Now over here, I'm going to pull the box off the top. It's empty now. Again, we'll have to come back into these hives, make sure these bees have enough room to grow. Take a quick look, make sure our queen's not hanging out in one of the corners of these boxes. Looks good to me. We're out of smoke. Well, here, Greg, I'm going to put this one on top. This super has a lot more room in it. This one's pretty full. We'll come back and harvest this honey another time. These girls will make it back into the box. Huh? Okay, we suspect this hive may be queenless. Let's see how they look. Let's go into the top. Make sure we don't have a queen on a lid. Again, we have beetle blasters here in the top box. Got to be careful not to spill the contents of that. It's pretty empty. Not a lot going on here. Let's see what we got. Can already see there's really no bees here. So I'm going to skip those outer frames. Go right inside. See if we've got any brood down here at all. But it appears we don't have a lot of bees in this box. Comb a little bit of nectar. little bit of nectar and bee bread. Not really very many bees. More bee bread. No bees here. No brood. Let's see if maybe they did anything up in this box. It's pretty light though. For the amount of bees we have in these boxes, we've got too many boxes on the hive. Hard for the bees to maintain all of this comb. There's nothing up here. This frame has a few bees on it. Let's see what we got here. Lots of nectar. No queen. I think we got queenless bees here. Again, we've got beetle blasters here. We want to be very careful not to disrupt the contents of those. I don't see hardly any bees. I see empty frames here. No bees. I have bees returning with pollen. So we know there's still some bees living in the box and it's not just getting robbed out. But I really don't see anything down here. So I'm going to take the queen that we brought for this hive out and see what the bees think of her. Let's see. Got bees jumping right on, coming up through the frames. They're not acting aggressive towards her. They're not trying to sting her through the cage. I would condense this box down to 1 and put our queen in and see if they accept her. Just leave this box, bounce all the other bees in. Yeah. So we're going to mount the queen to one of these frames. I'm going to pull one out of the middle. And we'll condense this hive down into one box. Come back and check it in a couple of days to make sure they've released the queen. We have bee bread here. Again, we're going to put a little hole in the tape on our cage, help them release the queen. Just a little hole in the bottom. The bees will chew right through that tape. And push her into the frame. Make sure they can get to that hole we put in the tape by making a little depression in the wax. There we go, she's mounted. Gonna put her between. Bees are coming up to visit her. Push all the frames together and they'll be able to release her from that box. I'm gonna remove the beetle blasters from this and shake the bees out. Again, being careful not to disturb the contents. We've got oil in there. The bees have propolized these in. Got some small hive beetles in there. Shake some of these bees out. Lots of small hive beetles living underneath the small hive beetle trap. Go ahead and put this hive together. Move the boxes away. Now we can see we have quite a few more bees. Now we've condensed it down. It's pretty heavy. All done. Split a hive and gave a hive without a queen a new queen.